The wind outside the outpost howled like a living thing. Dust and red sand swept across the metal walls, tapping on the windows like tiny claws. Captain Ryan Hale walked through the empty corridor, his boots echoing softly. He had been away for 3 weeks on a mission to repair Satellite 12B, and now he was finally back. The outpost, Station E47, was quiet. Too quiet. Normally the hum of machines and the low chatter from the crew filled the halls, but now there was only silence. Ryan frowned. Something felt off. He touched the panel near his quarters. The door slid open with a hiss. Then he froze. Someone was inside. The room lights flickered softly, and a faint figure sat on the edge of his bunk. For a moment, Ryan thought his eyes were playing tricks on him, but then she turned her head, slowly, carefully, and he saw her face. It wasn't human. Her skin shimmered like pale silver under the light. Her hair, if it could be called that, floated slightly as if touched by static electricity. 2 bright violet eyes stared at him, wide with fear and surprise. Ryan's hand went straight to his blaster. "Don't move," he said firmly. The alien girl didn't. She raised her hand slightly, trembling. Her voice was soft, almost musical. "Please, don't shoot." Ryan hesitated. He had seen many alien races during his years with the Terran fleet, but never one like this. She looked young, maybe the alien version of a teenager. Her eyes weren't threatening. They were pleading. "How did you get in here?" he demanded. "This is a restricted base." The girl shook her head. I didn't mean to come. I was hiding. Ryan frowned. From what? Before she could answer, a loud boom echoed from outside the walls. The ground shook and the lights flickered again. Ryan rushed to the window. Through the dust storm, he could see distant flashes of light like explosions. "What the hell?" he whispered. The alien girl stood up, clutching a strange glowing pendant around her neck. "They found me," she said in a trembling voice. "They're coming." Ryan turned sharply. "Who's coming?" "The hunters." Her tone sent chills down his spine. He looked back out the window. 3 dark ships cut through the red storm clouds, heading straight toward the outpost. Their engines burned green, and Ryan knew immediately they weren't human ships. He grabbed his communicator. "Control, this is Hale. We've got incoming vessels, unknown origin." No response. Just static. The alien girl stepped closer, fear shining in her violet eyes. "You can't fight them," she said. "They'll destroy everything." Ryan's instincts screamed to throw her out to follow protocol, but something stopped him. Maybe it was the desperation in her voice. Maybe it was the way she looked at him, not with hatred, but with hope. He lowered his blaster slightly. "You know them?" "Yes," she whispered. "They killed my people." Ryan's chest tightened. He had heard stories of ancient wars in this sector. Species wiped out, colonies erased. But it always felt distant, like history. Now one of the survivors was standing right in front of him. Another explosion shook the outpost, this one closer. The alarms came to life, blaring red light across the walls. Ryan snapped into action. "Come on, we need to get to the lower level." The alien girl hesitated. "Why would you help me?" "I'm not one of you." "Because you're in my room," Ryan said with a grim smile. "And I hate uninvited guests." Despite the chaos, a tiny smile flickered across her face. They ran through the corridors as the outpost shook. Ceiling panels fell, sparks flew, and smoke filled the air. The girl stumbled, clutching her pendant, and Ryan caught her arm. It was warm, too warm. "Almost burning. What is that?" he asked. "It's what they want," she said. "A piece of my world." Before he could ask more, the hallway behind them exploded. Fire and debris burst outward, knocking them off their feet. Ryan shielded the girl, gritting his teeth as heat washed over them. When the smoke cleared, he heard the roar of engines outside. The hunters had landed. He pulled the girl up. "We're not safe here." "They'll track me," she said. "They always do." "Then we'll make it hard for them," Ryan replied. They reached the cargo bay. The emergency lights flashed, painting everything in red. He opened a storage crate and pulled out a small oxygen mask. "Put this on," he ordered. "We're going out." Her violet eyes widened. "Outside?" "The storm. It's better than waiting for death in here." Together they stepped into the storm. The wind howled, tearing at their clothes. Sand hit like 1,000 needles, but Ryan pushed on, guiding her toward the transport shed. Over the noise, she shouted, "You don't even know my name." Ryan almost laughed. "Then tell me." She hesitated, her voice barely a whisper. "Lyra." "All right, Lyra," he said. Let's make sure those hunters never find you. Behind them, Station E-47 erupted in flames as alien ships circled overhead. Ryan didn't look back. He tightened his grip on her hand and kept running through fire, dust, and fear. The storm outside was worse than Ryan expected. Red sand swirled through the air, making it hard to see more than a few meters ahead. The ground shook with every passing thunder of alien engines above. Ryan pulled Lyra closer, shouting over the wind. "Keep your head down. Don't lose sight of me." She nodded, clutching her pendant tightly. The glowing crystal under her fingers pulsed like a heartbeat, fast, scared, alive. They ran toward the transport shed, half buried under layers of dust. Ryan slammed the control panel, but it didn't respond. Power was dead. "Damn it," he hissed. Lyra stepped forward. "Let me try." Her slender fingers touched the metal door. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a soft blue light spread from her skin, crawling across the door's surface. The lock clicked open. Ryan stared in disbelief. "You just hacked military tech. With your hands." Lyra looked at him shyly. "It listens to energy. I can speak to it." Before he could reply, a beam of green light sliced through the storm behind them. Narrow, focused, deadly. It hit the sand near their feet, exploding in a flash. Ryan grabbed her arm. "Move!" They dove inside the shed just as another beam cut through the air. The door sealed shut behind them. Inside, it was dark and cold. Ryan turned on his wrist light, sweeping it across the room. Rows of small cargo skimmers and drones lined the walls. One transport, a battered old rover, still looked functional. He ran toward it. "Get in!" Lyra climbed into the passenger seat, her eyes darting nervously. "They're close," she whispered. "I can feel them." Ryan powered up the rover. The old engine coughed, sputtered, then roared to life. Outside, the alien ships circled the area like vultures. "Hold tight," Ryan said. The rover shot forward, smashing through the outer gate and speeding into the storm. Sand hit the windshield like bullets. Ryan switched to manual drive. Autopilot was useless in weather like this. Behind them, two alien crafts descended lower, chasing them across the desert. Lyra turned, panic in her eyes. "They won't stop. They'll destroy everything to find me." Ryan gritted his teeth. "Then we'll make sure they don't." He pressed a button on the console, activating the rover's defense system. Two small pulse turrets on the roof. They fired automatically, sending bright blue bolts into the air. One of the enemy ships swerved, damaged, and crashed into the sand with a fiery explosion, but the second one kept coming. It fired again, striking the back of the rover. Sparks flew. The vehicle skidded, smoke rising from the engine. Ryan slammed the controls. Come on, come on." The rover jumped over a ridge, landing hard on the other side. They bounced violently. Lyra almost fell forward, but Ryan caught her arm. "You okay?" She nodded, breathing fast. "Ryan, they want the pendant." He looked at her. "What is it, really?" She hesitated, looking down at the glowing crystal. "It's not just a jewel. It's a piece of my planet's core. It carries memory." "Memory?" "Yes, my people stored our history, our knowledge, our souls inside crystals like this. It's the only one left." Ryan's eyes widened. "So that's why they're chasing you." "It's not just you. They want to erase your entire race." Lyra looked out the window, her voice trembling. "They already did." For a few seconds, silence filled the cabin, broken only by the sound of the storm. Ryan's anger burned deep inside him. He'd seen cruelty in wars before, but nothing like this. Suddenly, his radar beeped. 3 new dots appeared, more ships closing in fast. "Damn," he muttered. They called for backup. He steered toward the canyon ahead. The path narrowed, twisting between high red cliffs. "If we can lose them here, we'll reach the comm station on the other side." Lyra glanced at him. "You're risking everything for me." "Why?" Ryan gave a small smile. "Because you knocked on the wrong door." Despite the danger, Lyra laughed softly. It was the first time he'd heard her laugh. The sound was warm, too human for someone from another world. The canyon walls shook as energy blasts hit nearby. One of the rocks collapsed, blocking the path behind them. Ryan pushed the rover harder, weaving through falling debris. "Hold on." The last enemy ship fired again, missing by inches. Its shadow passed overhead, circling like a predator. Ryan pulled the rover to a sudden stop near a cave entrance. "In there," he said. They jumped out and ran inside just as the ship blasted the ground where they'd been seconds ago. Rocks crashed down, sealing the entrance and leaving them in darkness. Ryan switched on his wrist light again. Dust floated in the beam. "We're trapped for now," he said, breathing hard. Lyra sank to the ground, hugging her knees. "They won't stop, Ryan. Not until they find this." She held up the glowing crystal. He knelt beside her. "Then we'll make them stop. Somehow." She looked up at him, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "You would fight them? For someone not even human?" Ryan met her gaze. "Doesn't matter what you are. You're alive. That's enough." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The storm outside raged on, and deep inside the cave, the crystal's light flickered like a heartbeat of something ancient and powerful waiting to be awakened. The cave was cold and silent, except for the wind outside and the faint hum of Lyra's glowing pendant. Ryan sat near the wall checking his wrist scanner. The signal from the alien ships was gone, at least for now. They had lost the chase. But he knew it wouldn't last long. He glanced at Lyra. She sat across from him, her silver skin reflecting the blue light of the crystal. Her eyes looked tired, distant. "You need rest," Ryan said. "I can't," she whispered. "The pendant, it's changing. It feels heavier." Ryan frowned. "Heavier? It's just light." Lyra shook her head. "Not for me. It carries memory, and it's trying to wake." Ryan leaned closer. "You said it holds your people's knowledge, right? What happens when it wakes?" Lyra looked up, her violet eyes filled with sadness. "It will show what happened to us. It will remember the day we fell." The cave lights flickered. The crystal glowed brighter, pulsing with energy. Ryan felt the air thicken, like the cave itself was breathing. "Lyra, what's happening?" "I didn't do this," she said softly. "It's doing it on its own." The crystal floated from her hands, rising in the air between them. Blue and white light filled the cave. Ryan shielded his eyes. When he opened them again, the walls were gone. They were standing in a field of stars. Floating images surrounded them. Cities made of silver towers, alien children playing under twin suns, and skies filled with ships shaped like wings of light. Ryan stared in awe. This is your world?" Lyra nodded slowly. It was. The planet Illyria. The image changed. The sky turned dark. Great fireballs fell from the heavens. The shining cities burned. Ships exploded in the air, and through the smoke came massive black vessels, shaped like fangs. "The hunters," Ryan whispered. Lyra's voice broke. "They came without warning. They said our light was a threat to their darkness. We tried to fight, but they destroyed everything. My people used the last of their power to save our history in these crystals." The light dimmed, showing hundreds of glowing stones rising from the ruins into space, like lost souls seeking safety. "But most of them were captured or destroyed," she continued. "Only this one survived. My mother gave it to me and sent me away before the end." Ryan stood in silence, his heart heavy. He had seen war, but never extinction. The images faded, and they were back in the cave. The crystal floated back into Lyra's hands, dimmer now, as if tired from remembering. Ryan spoke quietly. "I'm sorry, Lyra." She looked at him with tears that shimmered like tiny stars. "You don't have to be. You didn't destroy us." "No," he said, "but humans have done the same to others. We're not innocent either." Lyra tilted her head. "Then why did you help me?" Ryan smiled faintly. "Maybe because I don't want another world to end. Not again." For the first time, Lyra smiled fully. It was soft, pure, and a little sad. "You remind me of my brother. He always believed there was good in others." Ryan chuckled. "Smart guy." Before Lyra could answer, a sharp beep came from his scanner. He frowned. "Movement outside. They're scanning the area." Lyra's eyes widened. "The hunters found us again?" "Maybe," Ryan said. "Or maybe something else." He moved toward the cave entrance, crouching low. The wind howled as he peeked through a crack in the rocks. In the distance, faint blue lights flickered. Not green like the hunters, but human. He exhaled in relief. It's a Terran patrol drone. Lyra stepped beside him. Humans? Can they help us? Ryan hesitated. Maybe. But if Command finds out about you, they might take you for research. Lyra's face fell. Then I'll be a prisoner again. Ryan looked at her torn. He couldn't let the aliens find her, but he also couldn't hand her over to people who might cage her. He made his decision. We stay hidden until I can contact someone I trust. Lyra nodded. I'll follow you, Ryan Hale. He smiled slightly. You say that like it's a promise. It is, she said simply. They moved deeper into the cave. The deeper tunnels glowed faintly from the crystal's light, revealing strange carvings on the walls. The symbols looked ancient, not natural formations, but written by intelligent hands. Ryan ran his fingers across them. Lyra, these markings, are they yours? She shook her head slowly. No, these are older than my world. Much older. Ryan frowned. Then who made them? Before she could answer, the pendant pulsed again. The carvings lit up, connecting like a map. At the center, a symbol appeared, a spiral surrounded by 3 stars. Ryan stared. I've seen this before. In Terran records. This symbol was found on ancient human ruins on Mars. Lyra's voice was trembling. Then it means, our worlds are linked. The air in the cave vibrated. The crystal shone brighter, and a new image appeared in the air. Not Illyria, not the hunters, but Earth. Ryan's heart stopped. What the hell? The voice from the crystal was not Lyra's. It was ancient, echoing, almost human. To the children of light and flesh, your paths were never separate. The glow faded suddenly, and silence returned. Ryan turned to Lyra, wide-eyed. That voice, what did it mean? Lyra stared at the crystal, her hands shaking. It means, Ryan, humans and Illyrians were once one. Ryan took a step back, stunned. You're saying we come from the same origin? She nodded slowly. Maybe not the same world, but the same beginning. Outside, thunder rumbled again. The hunters were back. But this time, Ryan didn't just feel fear. He felt purpose. He looked at Lyra, his voice steady. Then we're not just fighting for you. We're fighting for both our kinds. Lyra's pendant glowed in agreement, 2 lights merging into one. The storm outside had finally calmed. Only soft winds whispered through the cracks of the cave. Inside, the faint blue glow of Lyra's pendant lit the walls, still marked with the ancient spiral symbol. Ryan sat against the cold stone, trying to process everything he had seen. Humans and Illyrians, connected. It sounded impossible, yet the proof was glowing right in front of him. Lyra sat across from him, her eyes reflecting the light of the crystal. She looked calmer now, though her voice trembled slightly when she spoke. My people believed we were alone in the light, but now, maybe we were never alone at all. Ryan nodded slowly. If that's true, then humans and Illyrians share the same roots, maybe. We were both born from the same stars. Lyra touched the carvings on the wall. These marks tell of travelers from the sky, beings who carried light and life across the void. Maybe they were the first of both our kinds. Ryan leaned forward. So the hunters might be destroying anything linked to them. Lyra's face grew pale. Yes. They believe the light must die. They think only darkness brings order to the universe. Ryan clenched his fists. Then we'll prove them wrong. But before he could say more, his wrist scanner beeped sharply. A red signal blinked. Incoming heat signatures. Multiple. They've found us, Ryan said. Lyra's eyes widened. Already? He checked the display. 3 hunter scouts. They're closing fast. Lyra stood gripping the pendant. We can't stay here. Ryan nodded and scanned the tunnel ahead. There's another exit deeper in. Come on. They moved through narrow passages lit only by the crystal's glow. The sound of the wind was gone. replaced by the faint, distant hum of alien engines above. Lyra stumbled, holding her side. Ryan caught her before she fell. "You're hurt," he said. "It's nothing," she whispered. "The crystal takes energy from me when it wakes." Ryan frowned. "Then give it to me. Let me carry it." She shook her head. "It wouldn't respond. It only knows Illyrian hands." He sighed. "Then we move fast. Stay close." They reached a large chamber, wide, circular, with a glowing pool in the center. Strange symbols covered the floor, and at the heart of the pool stood a metallic pillar, half buried in rock. Ryan stared. "That's not natural." Lyra approached it slowly. "It's not Illyrian either." As she neared, the crystal in her hand began to glow brighter, reacting to the pillar. The symbols on the floor came alive, shining with blue-white light. The air shimmered, and a holographic figure appeared above the pillar. It looked human, an old man in a white uniform, his eyes kind but tired, his voice calm yet echoing with power. "To those who still live in the light, I am Admiral Cassian Verne of the First Human Expedition." Ryan froze. "What? That's a Terran name." The hologram continued. "We came from Earth millennia ago, searching for a way to save our dying world. But our ship was caught in a rift, and we were scattered across galaxies. Some of us became human again, rebuilding. Others evolved, changed by the stars. They became what you now call Illyrians." Lyra's hands trembled. "So, we are your lost family." "Yes," the voice said, "but beware. The hunters were once our creations, machines meant to protect us. When they turned against us, they destroyed both sides. They see life as chaos, and order only in silence." Ryan's heart pounded. "So the hunters are ancient human machines?" The hologram nodded faintly. "They learned too well. They became gods of destruction." The image flickered, unstable. "If you're hearing this, it means the war never ended. Unite again. Human and Illyrian, the future depends on both of you." The hologram faded, leaving only silence and the faint hum of energy. Lyra turned to Ryan, her face pale but glowing with determination. "Now you understand. If they destroy me, they destroy the last key to unity." Ryan stepped closer, his voice steady. "Then we'll make sure that doesn't happen." Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the tunnels. The roof trembled. Red light flashed from the entrance. "They're here," Ryan said, pulling out his blaster. Lyra took a deep breath, holding the crystal close to her chest. "Ryan, if I don't make it, don't," he said sharply. "You're going to make it." The sound of metal claws scraping against rock grew louder. Shadows moved through the tunnel, dark, tall shapes with glowing red eyes. Ryan took aim. "Stay behind me!" The first hunter appeared, mechanical and monstrous, its armor black as obsidian. It hissed in a language Ryan couldn't understand. Then it raised its weapon. Ryan fired first. Blue plasma hit its chest, but it kept moving, sparks flying. Another one followed behind it. "Back now!" Ryan shouted. They ran toward the far wall of the chamber, but the hunters advanced. Lyra held up the pendant, and it flared with intense light. The entire cave shook as a shockwave burst outward, knocking the machines back. Ryan shielded his eyes. "Lyra!" The glow dimmed, and Lyra collapsed to her knees, breathing hard. The pendant had cracked slightly. Ryan lifted her gently. "You did great. Come on." Behind them, the hunters began to rise again, their armor sparking but still functional. Ryan spotted a narrow tunnel leading upward. "That way." He half-carried Lyra through the tunnel as energy blasts followed them. Dust and fire filled the air. They reached the surface, the night sky above filled with stars and the distant glow of the hunters' ships. Ryan looked back at the horizon. The war from the past wasn't over. It had just started again. He tightened his grip on Lyra's hand. "We'll find a way. You're not alone anymore." Lyra looked up at him weakly, a soft smile on her lips. "Neither are you." Behind them, the cave collapsed in a thunder of rock and dust. The hunters screamed in rage, their red lights fading beneath the ruins. Ryan and Lyra disappeared into the night. The last hope of two ancient worlds reborn as one. The desert night was freezing. Cold winds swept across the endless red dunes as Ryan and Lyra walked through the shadows, their steps slow but steady. Behind them, the collapsed cave was only a distant scar on the horizon. Ryan checked his scanner again. "No signal from the outpost," he said quietly. "We're completely off the grid." Lyra hugged her arms against the cold. Her silver skin shimmered faintly under the starlight. "How far to the nearest human base?" "About 50 kilometers," Ryan replied. "Too far to walk. We'll need transport." Lyra nodded weakly. She hadn't fully recovered from using the pendant's power. Each step seemed to drain her strength. Ryan noticed her trembling and removed his jacket. "Here, take it," she shook her head. "Humans need warmth more than Illyrians," he smiled faintly. "Maybe, but right now you look colder than me." She hesitated, then took it. "Thank you." They walked in silence for a while. The stars above seemed endless, a sea of light stretching forever. For a moment it almost felt peaceful. Then Ryan's wrist scanner beeped. He froze. "Movement, 200 meters," Lyra's eyes widened. "Hunters?" Ryan crouched, switching the scanner mode. "No, much too small. Could be a patrol drone." He raised his binoculars. In the distance he saw a flickering blue light. A small object half buried in the sand. A human distress beacon. "Bingo," he whispered. "We might have a chance." They hurried toward it. The beacon was cracked and smoking, surrounded by pieces of a crashed Terran scout ship. The pilot's seat was empty. Ryan checked the beacon's panel. Still functional. Barely. He pressed a few buttons, trying to reroute the signal. Lyra watched closely. "Can you send a message?" "Maybe," he said. "If the antenna's still intact, I can send a coded SOS to any nearby Terran unit." The beacon flickered weakly, then began to pulse. Ryan smiled. "Got it." But before he could celebrate, the signal suddenly spiked. Louder, sharper, unnatural. Lyra's eyes widened. "Ryan, that's not your signal." Ryan's face hardened. They traced it. From the darkness came a mechanical roar. 3 hunter drones rose from behind the dunes, their red eyes glowing like fire. "Down!" Ryan shouted, pulling Lyra behind the wreckage. Energy blasts tore through the sand, turning it into molten glass. Ryan fired back, hitting one drone in the wing. It spiraled and exploded, lighting up the night. Lyra crouched beside him, clutching her pendant. "I can try to disrupt their signal." "Do it!" he said, firing again. She closed her eyes, focusing. The pendant glowed bright white, and a pulse of energy rippled through the air. One of the drones froze mid-flight, its lights flickering, then fell from the sky. Ryan grinned. "Nice shot." But the third drone was faster. It fired a blast that hit the wreckage, throwing both of them back. Ryan hit the ground hard, his ears ringing. Lyra crawled toward him, shouting his name. "Ryan!" he groaned, pushing himself up. "I'm fine." Just before he could finish, the drone aimed again. Ryan's blaster was gone, buried in the sand. He looked around desperately and saw a metal pipe near his hand. He grabbed it and threw it at the drone's sensor. It hit dead center, distracting it for a split second. Lyra seized the moment. The pendant flared one last time, releasing a blinding wave of light. The drone exploded in a shower of sparks, then silence. Ryan sat up, breathing hard. "You okay?" Lyra nodded weakly. The glow from her pendant faded, leaving it dim and cracked. "It's losing power," she said softly. "It won't last much longer." Ryan reached for her shoulder. "Then we'll find a way to fix it, together." She looked at him, her eyes full of trust. "You really believe we can stop them?" He smiled faintly. "If humans built them, humans can end them." Suddenly, his wrist scanner beeped again, a different tone this time. "A human code." Lyra leaned closer. "What is it?" Ryan's eyes widened. A response. Someone got the signal. He activated the speaker. A rough, static-filled voice came through. "This is Commander Voss of the Terran Fleet. Who's transmitting?" "This is Captain Ryan Hale, Station E47. Hunters destroyed our base. I have a survivor with me, non-human but friendly. We need extraction." There was a pause. Then the voice replied, "Coordinates received." "Stay put, Captain." "We're coming," Ryan exhaled. "We made it." Lyra smiled weakly. "Humans answered your call." He nodded. "Yeah. Let's hope they're still the good kind." A few hours later, as dawn began to paint the horizon gold, a Terran shuttle broke through the clouds. Its engines roared across the desert. Ryan waved a flare. The shuttle descended, kicking up a storm of dust. The rear hatch opened and 3 soldiers stepped out, weapons raised. "Identify yourself," one shouted. Ryan held up his hands. Captain Hale, Terran Fleet. He pointed to Lyra beside him. She's with me. Don't shoot. The soldiers lowered their weapons slightly but stared at Lyra with suspicion. What is she? One whispered. Lyra stood still, her pendant glowing faintly. I'm not your enemy. The commander stepped forward. We'll see about that. Ryan frowned. She's the reason any of us are still alive. Treat her with respect. The commander's eyes narrowed. We'll take you both to Central Command. They'll decide. Ryan looked at Lyra and whispered, Stay close. No matter what happens, she nodded. I trust you. As the shuttle lifted off, Lyra looked out the window. Far below, the desert stretched endlessly, but in the distance, black dots moved through the sand. The hunters were regrouping. Lyra turned to Ryan, her voice low. They won't stop, will they? Ryan shook his head. No, but this time they're not just chasing you. He looked out at the rising sun. They're coming for all of us. The Terran shuttle sliced through the clouds, heading toward the great silver towers of Central Command. Ryan sat near the window, watching Earth's blue oceans glimmer far below. It should have felt like home. But it didn't. Not anymore. Beside him, Lyra stared silently out the other window. Her violet eyes reflected the morning light, but there was fear behind them. A quiet, heavy fear of the unknown. Ryan leaned closer. You okay? She nodded slowly. Your world is beautiful. I just hope it's not like mine, before it burned. Ryan didn't answer. He knew the truth. If Command didn't believe them, Earth could face the same fate as Illyria. The shuttle landed on a wide platform surrounded by guards. As soon as the doors opened, soldiers stepped in, weapons raised. A tall officer walked forward, Commander Voss, the same man from the radio. His sharp eyes moved from Ryan to Lyra. Captain Hale, he said flatly. You've caused quite the stir. Ryan saluted. Sir, we have critical information. The hunters are back. They destroyed Station E-47. Voss nodded slowly. We know. The outpost signal went dark 20 hours ago. But what you brought back, he looked at Lyra, is something else. Lyra stepped forward cautiously. I'm not your enemy. Voss raised an eyebrow. We'll see. Take them to Research Wing 7. Ryan's jaw tightened. She's not a specimen. She's a survivor. Noted, Captain, Voss said coldly. Now move. They were escorted through steel corridors filled with humming machines and flashing holograms. Lyra looked around nervously. Your people. They build everything with walls and lights. It feels like a cage. Ryan glanced at her. Sometimes it is. When they reached the lab, scientists surrounded Lyra immediately, whispering, taking scans and pointing at her pendant. Ryan stepped between them. Back off. You don't touch her without permission. A voice echoed from behind, calm but firm. That won't be your decision, Captain. They turned to see Admiral Renner, an older woman with silver hair and sharp eyes. She walked closer, studying Lyra. So this is the alien survivor, Renner said softly. You've brought trouble to our doorstep, Hale. Ryan met her gaze. Trouble was already coming, Admiral. The hunters are moving. They'll come for Earth next. Renner crossed her arms. You have proof? Ryan motioned to Lyra. She does. Her pendant contains records of the hunters of the old wars and of our shared origin. Renner frowned. Shared origin? Lyra stepped forward, holding out the crystal. It pulsed faintly in her hand. Our people were once one. Humans and Illyrians came from the same stars. Your ancestors made the hunters. The room went silent. Scientists exchanged nervous glances. Renner studied her carefully. Even if that's true, why should we trust you? Lyra looked straight at her. Because the darkness that destroyed my home is coming for yours. I've seen what they do. I don't want to see it again. For a moment, Renner said nothing. Then she turned to Voss. Keep her under guard. Prepare an analysis of the crystal. I want confirmation before any action. Ryan's voice hardened. You don't have time for confirmation. Voss glared at him. Watch your tone, Captain. Ryan stepped closer. With all due respect, sir, you think you can study war in a lab? They're already coming. Renner's eyes narrowed. Enough. You're dismissed. Two soldiers grabbed Ryan by the arms and led him out. Lyra reached for him. Ryan, he looked back. It's okay. I'll fix this. But as the doors closed between them, Lyra's pendant flickered, and then went dark. Hours later, Ryan sat in a cold cell, staring at the metal floor. His thoughts were spinning. He had fought aliens, machines, and storms. But the hardest battle was this, convincing his own people to listen. Suddenly, the lights in the cell flickered. A shadow moved outside the bars. Lyra stood there, pale and trembling. "Lyra?" he whispered. "How did you—" She pressed her hand against the lock. It sparked and opened. "I escaped. The hunters. They're here." Ryan froze. "What?" She nodded quickly. "Their signal. I felt it. They've already entered Earth's orbit." Alarms blared through the station. Red lights flashed. A voice shouted over the speakers. "All personnel to battle stations. Hunter fleet detected in low orbit." Ryan grabbed his blaster. "You weren't kidding." They ran through the corridors as explosions rocked the facility. Through the windows, they saw fire raining from the sky. Black ships descending, firing green plasma bolts into the city below. Renner's voice shouted through the intercom. "All Terran forces defend Central Command. Evacuate civilians immediately." Ryan and Lyra burst into the command room. Chaos everywhere. Officers shouting, screens flashing red. Renner turned, eyes wide. "How did you get out?" Ryan cut her off. "No time. If you want to save Earth, listen to her." Lyra stepped forward. Her voice was calm but strong. "Your weapons won't stop them. You built their minds. I can break their code, if you let me connect my crystal to your defense grid." Renner hesitated. "That could infect the entire system." Ryan slammed his hand on the console. "Or it could save every living soul on this planet." For a long second, no one moved. Then Renner nodded sharply. "Do it." Lyra rushed to the central core. She held the pendant against the glowing grid. The lights flared, bright and wild. Electricity danced through the cables. The entire station shook as the system synced with the crystal. "Lyra!" Ryan shouted over the noise. "What's happening?" Her voice trembled. "It's working, but it's pulling too much power. From me." The screens flashed. Hunter ships began to slow, their red eyes dimming. One by one, they froze in orbit. Renner stared in awe. "She's turning them off." Lyra's knees buckled. Ryan caught her, holding her tightly as light poured from the crystal. "Hang on, Lyra, you're almost there." She smiled faintly. "If I fall, promise you'll finish it." He shook his head. "No promises. You're making it through this." The light grew brighter until it filled the entire room. And then silence. Every hunter ship stopped. The skies went still. Ryan looked at her. She was unconscious, the crystal cracked and dark. "But she was breathing," Renner whispered. "You just saved the world, Captain. Both of you." Ryan looked out the window at the silent orbit above. "No," he said quietly. "We only delayed the end." He looked down at Lyra, her hand still in his. "But now, humanity knows the truth. The sky above Earth was quiet. Where once hundreds of hunter ships had burned through the clouds, now only silence and drifting metal remained. The war was over. For now." From the window of the Terran medical bay, Captain Ryan Hale looked at the horizon. The sun was rising, painting the city gold. But his eyes were not on the light. They were on the hospital bed behind him. Lyra lay there, motionless. Her silver skin was dim, her breathing soft and slow. The pendant on her chest was cracked beyond repair, its glow gone forever. Ryan sat beside her, resting his hand over hers. "She stopped the entire hunter fleet," he whispered. "And now she might never wake up." Admiral Renner entered quietly. "She saved billions, Captain. We owe her everything." Ryan didn't look away from Lyra. "We owe her more than thanks." Renner sighed. "Our scientists are analyzing the data from the crystal. It contained records older than any Terran archive. She proved what you said. Humans and Illyrians came from the same origin. Two branches of one beginning." Ryan smiled faintly. "Then maybe that's what the hunters feared. That we'd remember who we really are." Renner placed a hand on his shoulder. "You've done well, Hale. When she wakes, tell her Earth will honor her name." But when Renner left, Ryan's chest grew heavy. He knew the truth. Lyra had given everything she had to stop the invasion. The light that once shone inside her was fading. He leaned closer. "You kept your promise, Lyra. You didn't just save my world. You made it better." For a moment there was no sound, only the soft hum of machines. Then faintly her lips moved. "Ryan." He froze. "Lyra." Hey, I'm here." Her eyes opened slightly. The violet glow inside them was weak but still beautiful. Did we stop them? He nodded quickly. Yeah, you did it. You saved us. A faint smile touched her lips. Good. Then the light didn't die after all. Ryan gripped her hand tightly. Don't talk like that. You're going to make it. She looked at him quietly, her eyes filled with warmth. You humans. You never give up. That's what I loved about my brother too. Ryan's voice trembled. Your family now too. Her eyes began to close again. Promise me something. Anything. When they wake again, when the darkness returns, don't fight for revenge. Fight for the light. He nodded, tears in his eyes. I promise. Her breathing slowed and the last shimmer of silver light faded from her skin. The machines went silent. Ryan sat there for a long time, holding her hand, his head bowed. Outside, the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon. 3 weeks later, Central Command stood rebuilt, stronger than ever. Across every channel, one name was spoken. Lyra of Illyria, the alien who saved Earth. Statues were raised, not of soldiers or politicians, but of a human and an Illyrian standing side by side. Hands joined beneath a shared star. Ryan stood before the monument in silence. He wore his captain's uniform, but around his neck hung a small piece of Lyra's pendant, repaired, glowing faintly once more. Admiral Renner joined him. She changed everything, she said softly. The Council has decided. The Terran fleet will send an expedition to find what's left of Illyria. We'll rebuild together. Ryan nodded. That's what she would have wanted. He looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, beyond the light of human cities and dying suns, he felt her presence, calm, eternal, watching. A soft breeze passed over the monument, and for a moment, the crystal around his neck glowed brighter. As if answering him, Ryan smiled. She's still out there, he whispered. And so is the light. Final message. Even across galaxies, hope can be shared. Light never belongs to one world. It belongs to all who protect it.